Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports with another football video, and today I am going over my Week 13 NFL Power Rankings. I do this video every single week, and it's the most successful and the most well-recepted video on the channel. So if you guys are new, welcome. And if you're not new, then thank you for returning. I really appreciate all the support from people new and old to the channel. I like to make these videos so that I can have a nice dialogue with people in the comment section about what teams I think are good and bad. I'm not trying to start anything. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone's teams. These are just my honest, unbiased opinions of everyone's teams and all the different teams in the league. So my purpose here is to have fun, and hope you guys have fun too. Before we get started, I'd just like to let you guys know that only 10% of you are subscribed. So if you enjoy my content and you want to see more of it, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel a lot, and it means a lot to me personally. So thank you guys for all the support. Let's get into the video. So today's video is starting off once again with the dumpster fire. We start with the dumpster fire every single week, and this week is unchanged from last week. It's still the Jets, the Bengals, and the Jaguars. There's not really much to be said here. All of these teams have 2 wins or less, and none of them are very good. The Jaguars played a very good game against the Browns this week, but I wouldn't really call that impressive either. The Browns have a good record, but they're not that strong of a team. I actually expected that game to be very close. I said in my predictions video I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars won. A lot of people were shocked that I said that, and then look what happened. The Browns barely won, and the Jaguars almost won, so that was exactly correct. The Browns are not that impressive, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, this is the dumpster fire right now. It's the Jets, the Bengals, and the Jaguars. It might progress as the season goes on, but right now these are the only 3 teams that I believe are bad enough to deserve to be down here. Moving on with the NFC East, and this division just deserves its own tier. I almost had the Lions in this tier, or below this tier or somewhere, but I'm going to keep the NFC East together for one more week. The NFC East is the worst division in football, and this week the Washington football team and the New York Giants are taking a slight lead ahead of the rest of the teams in the division. Washington won a great game on Thanksgiving, and the Giants just won today against the Bengals, and they're kind of making a slight lead. I would put Washington ahead of the Giants because the Giants game wasn't too impressive, but the issue is that the Giants have the best record in the division. So they've beaten the most teams and lost the least amount of teams within the division. And so I think that because of divisional matchups, the Giants have the advantage here over the Washington football team for the number 26 spot. But between the Cowboys, the Eagles, the football team, and the Giants, they're all pretty even teams right now. I think the Giants are slightly better and the Cowboys are slightly worse. But they're all pretty interesting up in this division. And the winner of this division won't have any more than 7 wins. So it'll be very interesting to see which one of these teams gets the crown for the least amount of wins by a team that makes the playoffs, because that record is up for grabs, and one of these teams is probably going to get it. Moving on to future potential, we have the Lions at 24, the Lions at 25, the Panthers at 24, the Broncos at 23, and the Chargers at 22. So the Lions and Panthers started off very strong this season. I think the Panthers were 3-3, and the Lions were also 3-3 at one point. The Panthers may even have been 3-2, but since then they've been going downhill every single week. They've been getting worse and worse and worse and worse. They both have 4 wins right now after their strong starts, and I don't see either of them improving anytime soon. They're in future potential though because Teddy Bridgewater is a young quarterback, and Christian McCaffrey's out for the season. Once Christian McCaffrey's back next year with Teddy Bridgewater, that offense could do something a little more. And with the Lions, Matthew Stafford, he's not a great quarterback, but he's not terrible. And you always have a chance to do something with him, especially if they can get a defense going and they can get rid of Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia just got fired, so because of him getting fired, I think this team does have future potential for next season. Moving on to 23 and 22, we have the Broncos and the Chargers. These two teams, they have rookie quarterbacks. Drew Lock isn't a rookie, he's in the second year. But Justin Herbert's a rookie quarterback. Their defense is terrible. And I think that the Chargers will have a very good team next year if they can get some defensive players. But right now the Chargers have a very strong offense and a very weak defense. And I think that that's their issue. But they can be a very good team if they put the right amount of money into their defense. As for the Broncos, they have some issues. They have a couple players missing on defense based off of COVID and on other issues. They have a solid defense and a solid offense, but neither of them are working well together, and their turnover differential is terrible. So if they can fix their problems on the Broncos, then they can definitely improve for next season. So right now, they are also in future potential at number 23. Moving on in the power rankings, we have a new tier called one-dimensional. This tier, one or multiple parts of their team are very one-dimensional. For the Falcons, they're just an offensive team with no defense. With the Bears, they're a defensive team with no offense. For the 49ers, they're a defensive team with very little offense. They can't throw the football because their quarterback issues have been prevalent throughout the season. And the Texans have an offense with no defense. So the Texans and Falcons are kind of together, and the 49ers and the Bears are kind of together. These teams are all very weird. The 49ers are the weirdest of these teams. The 49ers will beat the hardest team in the league, and then they'll lose to the easiest team in the league. The Texans started off very, very weak, with their only wins being against the Jaguars. But in the last 2 weeks, they beat both the Patriots, and this week they won a good game on Thanksgiving. And they're not winning against great teams, but they're showing that they can play against teams at their level. So the Texans have been improving in the power rankings. The Bears have been going down every week. The Falcons have been improving, especially after this massive win against the Raiders. And the 49ers, I almost put them above the Texans, but after this win against the Rams, but they're just too unpredictable. I think that the Texans have been more consistent the last couple of weeks, and I'm very excited to see where all of these teams continue to go for the rest of the season. I don't think any of these teams are making the playoffs, but they all have a very interesting season so far, and if they can if the Falcons or the Texans can fix their defense, they'll be very strong teams. It'll be a lot harder for the Bears and the 49ers to fix their offenses, especially because the 49ers can fix their offense when they get their healthy players back. They have great potential for next season because their defense is still strong like it was last year, but their offense is just injured. Once their offense comes off of injuries, then they'll be stronger again. Moving on, we have what? This is another new category, and I didn't really know what to call this category, so I just called it what? Because I don't really know what any of these teams are right now. They're all like the weirdest. They have to be the weirdest teams in the league. So a lot of people were upset with my ranking of the Browns last week. They thought I had them too low for a 7-3 team. So what I decided to do for this category was I decided to take the average opponent ranking for all of my power rankings for each of these teams and put them next to the team to. It's not going to be a perfect representation of what I'm talking about, but it's going to explain a little bit why I have the Browns so low. So the Vikings, I have ranked 17. I have the Patriots at 16, and I have the Raiders at 13. The Vikings and Patriots are 5 and 6. The Raiders are 6 and 5. I have the Dolphins at 14. They are 7 and 4, and I have the Browns at 15. They are 8 and 3. So those records alone tell you that the Browns are much better than the Patriots and the Vikings. But if you look at their average opponent ranking based off of my other power rankings, the Patriots' average ranking is 14. That means most of their games are against teams that are above average. They actually have 4 wins against teams with a winning record. The Browns' average opponent ranking is 21. That means that their average opponent ranking is like the Chargers. The Chargers or the Falcons or the Bears, teams like that. That's their average. That means that they've played harder teams and worse teams than those teams, but that's got to be one of the lowest averages in the league. Usually when things average out, most teams end up between like 15 and 17, but the Browns are down to 21. I expect the Browns to go 9-7 or 10-6. If you're an 8-3 team and you're beating a 1-10 team by 2 points, that's nothing to brag about. The Browns are an okay team, but I don't see them making the playoffs, and they're not that strong. So I just wanted to put these in here to explain a little bit why I have the Browns as low as I do, and why I have Miami as low as I do. Because if you see Miami, they're also a major outlier. The Vikings, the Patriots, and the Raiders have all had very tough schedules, and the Dolphins and the Browns honestly just haven't. And so continuing on in the season, the Browns have a much harder schedule. And so they're going to drop in the standings, and they're probably going to stay around the same place in the power rankings because this is where they should be. Yeah, this was the most critiqued tier I had last week, or one of the most critiqued tiers, so this is just a little bit of an explanation of why I have these teams ranked where they are. The Raiders used to be higher, but they're now down to 13 after that terrible loss to the 49ers, not the 49ers, the terrible loss that they had this week to the Falcons. The next category on the power rankings is hashtag regressing. Right now we have the Cardinals, the Ravens, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who are all regressing hard. The Cardinals were 5-2, the Ravens were 5-1, and the Buccaneers were 6-2. Now the Cardinals are 6-5. The Ravens are 6-4, but I believe they're likely going to lose to the Steelers after Tuesday. And the Buccaneers are now 7-5. And so all of these teams are on a downward trend. They've all lost at least 3 of the last 4 games. And it's not looking good for any of them. I think that the Ravens and the Cardinals are both strong teams still. They've just had some hard weeks. I think the Buccaneers are also a very strong team still, especially if they make the playoffs, because Brady's good in the playoffs. But with Lamar Jackson getting COVID and Tom Brady being in a new system that he's not used to, and Kyler Murray, frankly, being in his second year in the league, it's not too surprising that these teams started off strong and now they're kind of getting brought back down to earth. But yeah, these teams are regressing, and they're still strong teams, but they're not as good. They're not looking as good as they used to look. The next tier is the Blue Man Group. Ha ha ha. This tier is the Bills, the Rams, and the Colts. The Bills are number 9, the Rams are number 8, and the Colts are number 7. The Colts were a little bit higher last week, and people thought that I should have put them in the top 3 because they beat Green Bay, and I was like, no, the Colts are not better than Green Bay. And then this week, it was clear the Colts are not better than Green Bay because they got completely destroyed by Tennessee after a close win the last time they played them. They're still a strong team. One game isn't going to hurt them. Just like the Rams, one game against the 49ers isn't going to kill them. The Bills, they're still a strong team. They didn't even play this week. Actually, did they play? I'm not sure. But anyways, these 3 teams are 7, 8, and 9. I'm not really sure where to put them. They're all pretty strong teams. They're all doing very well for themselves. And there's not really much else to say about them. So that's why they're the Blue Man Group. Next, we have the very strong Contenders. The previous tier was also strong Contenders, but I like the Blue Man Group as a better name. For these 3, we have the Seahawks, we have the Titans, and we have the Packers. They're ranked 6, 5, and 4, the Seahawks, respectively. The Seahawks have a very bad defense, but their offense has been able to play very well in close games to get them the wins against some good teams. The Titans have played very well in good and bad games. And they won a lot of games in close games at the beginning of the season, and they've continued to win throughout the season. They split with the Colts, and they're currently the favorites to win their division. And they're a strong team. There's not really much else to say about them. Derrick Henry is currently a very strong MVP contender as well. Between Derrick Henry, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson, you have 3 very strong MVP contenders in this tier. And if you got the Packers have had some rough patches. They had a bad week against the Buccaneers earlier in the season. They've had some interesting games, but right now I think number 4 is a pretty good spot for them. They've had some close losses. They've had one bad loss, and I think that they're a pretty solid team overall. They're not elite, but they are a very strong contender for the Super Bowl this season. Last but not least, we have the NFL's elite. These 3 teams have been the same for pretty much the last 5 weeks in a row, ever since the Saints beat Tampa for the second time. The Saints are at number 3, the Chiefs are number 2, and the Steelers are at number 1. The Saints have had a very solid season. They just got a win against the Broncos, and they have one more week until Drew Brees presumably comes back from injury. If they can start out against the Falcons, then they'll be 10-2. They'll be in a very good spot to win the NFC. At number 2, we have the Chiefs, and the Kansas City Chiefs are currently 10-1. The Steelers are 11-0, and these 2 teams are the 2 strongest teams in the league. Kansas City just played a very good game against the Buccaneers in a very close victory. They controlled the first half. The Buccaneers controlled the fourth quarter. Nothing really happened in the third quarter. And it was a very good game on both sides. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have never had a game decided by more than one score, and they're 2-2 against each other, so it was a very good matchup. And Kansas City came out with the victory. As for who's better, Kansas City or the Steelers, a lot of people thought that I should have put Kansas City at number 1. I still think the Steelers are the best team in the league, and if the Steelers played Kansas City tomorrow, I would choose Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is stronger. They're more well-rounded between their defense and their offense. And I think overall, Pittsburgh has the strongest team in the NFL, and that's why they're number 1. So thank you guys all for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you enjoyed the content, and subscribe if you're new. Look at the graph. Only 10% of you are subscribed, so make sure to subscribe. Other than that, hope you guys have a great day. Hope you guys have a great week. Keep watching football. Comment below what you guys want to see in future videos. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace out.